Hey, pilot, welcome to Ready for Pushback. I'm Nick Fialka. Today's guest, you may know him from the Pilot to Pilot podcast. It is the host, Justin Seims. We have a great conversation about his background, where he came from, how he got into aviation, and all of the things that have kind of gone along the way. If you're a fan of the Pilot to Pilot podcast, this is a great way to kind of hear his origin story. If you have never heard of the Pilot to Pilot podcast, you got to go check it out. It is the OG podcast, been around for almost a decade, and Justin has been really consistent. Hundreds of episodes about pilots and the things that pilots do. Great stories, great conversations, and also some really good industry updates that seem to everybody loves. So this is a great show. I think you're really going to like it. So sit back, relax. Let's get ready for Pushback.
It all started as a spark. Maybe it was the sound of jets racing across the sky, or the feeling of your heart racing as you watch a crop duster flying low and slow. Even then, you knew you were meant to fly. For pilots, it's more than just a job. It's a calling. The early mornings, the long hours, the relentless training. You didn't do it for the money. You did it for that moment. That moment when the wheels lift off and the earth falls away beneath you. But flying is just the beginning. The journey to your dream job takes more than just skill in the sky. It takes strategy on the ground and a lifetime of learning.
Most pilots don't understand what career opportunities are available in the world of aviation. Learn how to go from good to great, from flight school to regional to major, and from hopeful to hired. Whether you're sharpening your skills, building your resume, or preparing for that big interview, this is where pilots come to level up. Let's get ready for Pushback. Here's your host and my dad, Nick Fialka.
All right, Justin Seims, a celebrity in the house. What's up, buddy?
What's up, man? Thanks for having me on.
This is great. I appreciate you coming on the show. You are kind of the OG, and you've been doing Pilot to Pilot podcasts since like 1957. Like, how long have you been doing it?
Yeah. Before I was born, yeah. I started well before the internet, well before there was microphones like this. And so yeah, it's kind of a funny story. I've told this a couple times, but my wife, it really started when I was flying freight, and I was playing a ton of video games, just like nonstop. Like I go fly 14 hours, like I do a 14-hour day all through the night. I wake up, I'd start playing video games. Then my wife would go to work. I'd be playing video games. She'd come home. I'd be in the same spot. And I think after about a month of that, she was like, this is not going to work. You can't do this all the time. I was like, but I did my job. Like I just went fly. This is me decompressing. She's like, no, not at all. And she said, why don't you do a podcast? And I was like, no, that's a terrible idea. No one's going to want to listen to me talk. Throughout my whole life, I never enjoyed public speaking. I never enjoyed reading out loud. Like, when you're playing popcorn and they're like, all right, Justin's turn. I'm like, freak. I don't want it to be my turn. Like I never saw any of that out. I never saw it. It was kind of like a fear that I had. And I was just, for many reasons, I was like, no, I do not want to do this. And then, as any good woman does, or any good wife does, I keep kind of telling you like, hey, you should do this. You should do this. You should do this. And eventually I was like, all right, I'll do it, and did it. And I actually realized that I liked it. And that was probably in I honestly forget the year I started. I can't remember. It's 2016 or 2017. Let's go 2017 today. So that would be, we're coming up on 9 years, because it was January 2017. So 9 years of doing the podcast. Took it serious about 6 months in, once I realized people wanted to listen. And then I tried to do every single week. And I did every week. I posted a podcast on Tuesdays for probably 4 years. Then life gets in the way, kind of hit and miss a couple weeks, but still trying to get back to that every single week that I used to do. So, and hopefully maybe do more, maybe like 2 or 3 a week. But yeah, been doing it for almost 9 years.
I remember being deployed in Africa, and I would listen to you every.
No way.
Yeah, totally. 2019, I was before COVID and all that stuff. I was gone for the whole year. My wife had a baby while I was gone, and I would
casual.
Yeah, it gave me something to look forward to, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, so wife is pregnant. I'm deployed. That is not a good. That's not a good mix. But at least I hear your smooth voice. Like
I'm glad that that's like in the same relation right now. Like wife giving birth, listening to me in the podcast.
We got 5 kids, man. Like whatever.
Yeah, right. What's another one, right? I appreciate you listening, and obviously, thank you for your service. It's really appreciate that, as it gives me the ability to do what I'm doing now. Thanks for what you've done and sacrifices.
Thanks for your taxes. I appreciate that.
Anything for you.
So let's talk about how you got into this business, because it was very different than me. So, but we also grew up very close to each other. So, talk to me about where you grew up and how you got into this zone.
Yeah, so I am from Charlotte, North Carolina, which historically you don't meet people that are born and raised from Charlotte, North Carolina. My whole life growing up, everyone would be like, "Where are you from?" Like, from Charlotte. Like, where are you from? I'm like, I was born in Charlotte, downtown in the hospital. And they're like,
I usually ask people, I'm like, what high school did you go to? Because that tells me if they're really from there.
Yep, absolutely. And they just took forever to but anyways, kind of digressing, not really important to the podcast. But yeah, from Charlotte, North Carolina. My dad and my grandpa were both airline pilots. My grandpa flew in World War II. He flew the Chinese Burma hump in that part of the theater of World War II. He died when I was 10, so never got to interview him on the podcast, which would have been awesome, or really hear many of his stories. But my dad, his whole life, he knew he wanted to be a pilot, so he went after it hard. He went the civilian route. He eventually got hired with Piedmont Airlines, like the OG
like
Piedmont,
the big company Piedmont.
Yeah, like the massive company Piedmont that he still to this day says was the greatest job he's ever had, the greatest airline he's ever worked for. He followed probably 3 or 4 mergers later. He retires at American Airlines, which he would have never thought in a million years. But me personally, my whole life was all about sports. I never once thought about being a pilot. I never once wanted to fly an airplane. I never once wanted anything to do with aviation other than going on vacation. And still then, like, planes weren't necessarily cool to me. Like, planes were just like, I'm sitting here going to New York to visit my family. I'm sitting here going to wherever it may be. So I never even thought about it. I was really just dove deep into sports. I thought I was going to be a professional football player. Every sport I thought I was going to play pro at, like basketball. Then I realized I wasn't going to be as good. Baseball, which I probably was the best at, but started to not like it once I started playing football. And then that followed me into Ohio State to play football there. And day one at Ohio State, I very quickly realized that I think I reached the max of my athletic capabilities and I needed to find a plan B. Took some classes for random business stuff, hated it. And I was like, my grandpa's a pilot. My dad's a pilot. Let me just try it. It's in our blood. Let me see what happens. Took off. I was like, this is it. I'm doing this.
So you were flying at Ohio State. Were you, was there a local flight school and you were flying Part 61? Or do they have a flying program there?
Yeah. They actually have a really big aviation school. So they're one of the only airports. I think maybe there's one more. It could be more now. It could be less. I'm not sure. But they own and operate their own airport. It's called Don Scott Airport, Ohio State University. They host a bunch of flight team stuff. They have a bunch of national championships for flight team there all the time. So it's a pretty big airport up in northwest Columbus. And it was a 141 school. So I signed on for that. There's 2 sides of the school that you could do. You could do aviation systems or aviation management. I knew with my time commitment, which was very small, as anyone can imagine, playing football or playing any sport at the D1 or any just collegiate level, your time is very allotted to, you're there to do the sport. You're not necessarily there to go fly airplanes. So I knew that if I did the systems route, I probably wouldn't graduate because you had to get all your ratings to graduate. And on top of that, flying in the Midwest, training in the Midwest can be awful. It's, freezing levels are at 0 when you walk outside and the plane's frozen. And you just can't really do anything, especially in the wintertime. And then storms, just not the best place to train. So I did my private there. It took me forever because every time I got close to do my check ride, it's like, hey, all right, fall camp started. All right, season there. I can fly here, I can fly there. And honestly, it was partly me. Like, I was like, all right, I just squatted really heavy. My legs are shaking. I'm not trying to do like right rudder for 4 hours or for like 2 hour flight. And I just be like, my flight instructor probably hated it. I was like, hey dude, I'm going to cancel today.
In typical like football player fashion, like, man, I don't really have time for this. What position were you playing?
I was a quarterback. I will say backup quarterback. My main job was I was a signaler. So for home games, I did all the signaling. I was holding up the cards and I was doing all the crazy things on the sideline. And I actually got more face time than what the starting quarterback got during the game, because I was always next to Coach Tressel. He was a big time coach there, and the camera would always like pan to him, and I'd be over there just like doing this thing. So everyone's like, "Oh, I saw you on TV."
That's so good. And
Yeah.
so you played, and you're going through the flight training program, and it sounds like it's going to be hard to graduate in 4 years doing all the things that you're doing. How did that pan out?
Yeah. So I realized that aviation, the systems track, wasn't for me, and they had another track called the aviation management course, and they had two different wings of it. You go through the business school, you go through arts and sciences. I did the arts and sciences just because, I was 19 and I didn't really feel like studying too much harder than I already had to do the business route. So I did the management side, which you don't even need to get any ratings to actually graduate. It's just like, all right, you're here to learn about airplane management. You're here to learn about airport management. There's a lot of kind of cool classes we took, and I actually took an aviation communications class with Martin Rotler. If he's listening to this, he'll probably love this. He's probably smiling from ear to ear, but he still claims, he's like, hey, this is why this is why you have a podcast, because of my class. He claims all the credit.
Oh, dang.
Yeah. So what's up, Martin? He worked at Delta for a while, by the way.
What's up, Martin? Give him a call. Let's talk about your class.
Yeah.
What? So were there any other football players playing or like going through the aviation program?
Nope, not one. I remember every once in a while when someone new found out that I was doing flying, it'd be like our best receiver or something. It'd be like, yo, Seims, you really like flying the airplanes. And they'd always do like the arms out, like, you're really flying the airplanes, like you're really doing that. I was like, yeah, man, that's what I'm doing. And then there's a lot of times our strength, we'd be outside like practicing, and the airplanes flew right over our practice facility, either taking off or landing. You always fly over the Woody Hayes football complex. And they would always look up, like, oh, Seims is looking at airplanes. And they'd be like, pay attention, quit doing that. Yeah. But yeah, they loved, it was just so different than what everyone was doing. So it was fun for them to bring attention to it and just like poke fun and have fun with it. But I think it was cool.
As you grew older away from college, has anybody ever reached back out from the football team? Like, hey man, I'm actually kind of interested in this. Seems like way better than not doing anything else.
No one that I played with has wanted to be a pilot, at least that I know. And I'm trying to think hard. There might, maybe, no, I don't think any of them have. Since I've been there, I've had people that I played with that have worked on the support side of the football team, and they have introduced me to a player or two that have wanted to be a pilot and play football. And then there's also been some other athletes that have been like, hey dude, like similar path. I played baseball, I played soccer, I played football, and then I want to be a pilot too. So there are a few of us, and at my airline, everyone's always like, oh well, yeah, there's a starting center that played for Tom Brady, or there's this and this. So there are a couple of us out there.
Yeah. My friend Kurt Jarvis, he was a nose tackle for Alabama, won a national championship.
Oh, cool.
Went to the Bucks, played with the Buccaneers started for 5 years. And while he was down in Tampa, I mean, he's massive. Like I'm 6'4", and he makes me feel like a dwarf. Mm-hmm. And he knew, even as a starter, that there was a half-life to getting paid to play football. And so that's when he started flight school, and I should have him on the show. He's a super cool guy. But I see that.
Yeah, you should. You're like, actually, I'm not going to talk to you anymore. I'm going to call him.
Text.
Yeah.
Group text.
This podcast is over. See you, dude. Yeah.
But I mean, he's 10 years at least older than me. He's a cool dude.
Yeah.
So you graduate, and did you have like a path? Because what year did you graduate?
2012.
All right. So you're a baby.
Yep.
You're like a decade.
Yep. So I started my training in 2010, and it was probably arguably one of the worst times to start training, because everyone was just like, I remember talking to my dad's friend. My dad is very optimistic. He's always been like, it's still a great career. You should still do this. But all of his friends were like, you're a moron. Like, go do something else. Like, no one was recommending anyone to be a pilot in 2010. And it was like, why would you take out
They were still right about 10 years of getting beat down straight. So,
yeah. It's hard to blame them,
Yeah,
right?
no.
It's very like it's hard to blame them. It looked like it had no future, but when I look back at it, it really seems like it was one of the best times to start training because you finish up, you get into it right before the real big boom. So you're actually going to have the seniority above the big boom if you hit it right. So it was arguably one of the best times to start flying.
I completely agree. And it's a little counterintuitive. And gosh, man, people always think the people that started training right as COVID was kicking off, like geniuses, because they're crushing it. And they got hired at Mainline when they were 24, 25.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Which is insane.
It's absolutely
insane. And we talked about that on my podcast because, I mean, as we talked about, we just released it today. So I don't know when this is coming out, but January 13th at 11:41, our podcast is live on my channel. But we talk about kind of how they forget about what it was like in the aviation world, right? Like what some of these old captains said. It's like, dude, I slept on benches. I brushed my teeth. I shaved. I couldn't afford food. And then you got these new hires coming in at major airlines like, man, we're not getting paid enough. You're like, what?
Yeah.
Bro, you're making so much money.
I met a captain that was 26 and he still lived with his parents in their basement. And I thought, oh my God, what a
hopefully he's saving.
Yeah, I
so
know.
much
I was like,
money.
how much money are you packing away?
Yeah. He's got like 3 Rolexes on. He's like, oh, let me see. This one's set. And
I have seen a guy wearing 2 watches on, like, and I'm like, what is happening here? Anyway.
Yeah.
Pilots are weird.
Very much.
All right, dude. So it's 2012. You're graduating.
Yep.
The financial crisis has been going on for 18, 24 months or so. And you are sniffing around trying to find anybody that'll take you on. Where did you end up?
So when I first started my training, my dad was an airline pilot and I really wanted to go the airline route, but there was a team meeting that we had. Coach Meyer, Urban Meyer took over and he was like, one of the hardest weeks of my life, but one of the hardest years, just how hard he worked us. If everyone has seen kind of the Florida Gators documentary they did, it was that times like 10. But anyways, getting back on track. We're at a team meeting. He's like, where's my pilot at? And I was like, oh no. I was like, what did I do? He's like, stand up. And I was like, frick. So I stand up. He's like, I'm going to get you a job. And I was like, sweet. This is going better than I thought. I was like, where are we going? He's like, I just met with... His name is Bill No. I just met with Bill No at NetJets. He was the COO. He was a big deal at NetJets. Has a great career. I interviewed him a long time ago as well, but he's an awesome guy. And he's like, I'm going to set you up. You're going to go meet with them. And literally that day, I had an email from Bill No's secretary like, hey, I'd love to set this up. I'd love to have this meeting. Bill, can't wait to meet you. I met with him and he was kind of a mentor for me. He very much sold me on NetJets. I obviously worked at NetJets for a while before where I am now. When you get there, no one is better at selling you at a place than NetJets people. Buy in. It's like old Southwest. Like you believe the culture. You're there. You're like, it's the greatest place in the world. But he sold me on it. So from then on out, I was like, what do I need to do to get the NetJets? And I told him that and met with him every 6 months. And every single time I was like, all right, Bill, what do I need to do next? What do I need to do next? He's like, all right, you have to get your multi. All right, now you have to get this. Now you have to get this. And when I got hired, it was well before all the mins were 1,500 and all that. So their mins were 2,500 total time at very big. Like this is their mins. Their actual mins were higher than that. 2,500 total time, 500 multi, and 250 actual IFR time. So what I did is I was trying to figure out how to get that multi time because 500 multi time is a lot and very hard to get. So Martin, shout out to Martin again. I was like, hey, dude, do you know anyone? I don't want to be a CFI. What can I do? And he's like, well, there is an aerial survey company not too far from here. I know the guys pretty well. I'll see if I can get you an interview. Got an interview. Obviously I was like, I played football at Ohio State, here are my rings, all that kind of stuff. And had a couple of old instructors that were there as well. They put in a good word for me. I got hired there, started flying a Turbo 206 stationaire, and they had 2 Aztecs, 2 310s, an Aero Commander, and a 182.
Dude, that's a big operation.
And massive operation. They had these massive cameras. They're probably about you're not watching this, you can't see what I'm doing with my hands, but they're probably about 12 inches wide Every single color had its own lens. And then I think there's like seven cameras made in the world. They had 3 of them, and then the Russian government had the other 4. So who knows what I was really doing.
Yeah, you're just spying for Russia. They don't know what they're doing anyway.
But anyways, so I did aerial survey for 700 hours, I think. I got hired there, maybe 6, I don't know, something, 700 hours, let's just say it. Got hired there at like 350 hours while I was trying to do my CFI training. And then quickly realized I didn't want to be a CFI. I just was so burnt out of tests. I was trying to find any other way to do it. So I went the aerial survey route, which was awesome, but also a disaster in its own. And I say that just because I was like fully thrown into like decision making, how to say no, like, hey, this airplane's taking a lot of oil. I don't really understand. Like, oh, it's fine. Just like, and then I think it was probably like 3 months in, we were flying a 206, boom, engine quits over West Virginia, land on a side of a mountain.
No kidding.
Yeah.
So talk to me about that.
Yeah. We were doing a photo mission inside Washington, D.C. The plane actually got an oil change the night before. They didn't cut open the oil filter. They cut it open 2 weeks later, and they're like, holy smokes, there's more metal in this than we've ever seen in our life. We should not have let you fly that plane. It's like, well, it's great to know now. Appreciate it. But anyways, we're flying around. I can't remember exactly what altitude, but we both remember crossing Morgantown, West Virginia, and then it just goes to like rolling. I mean, mountains is a stretch, but it's rolling hills, not flat at all, mountain-y. And we both look at each other, my buddy Alex, and we're like, dude, this would be a terrible place to lose an engine. 2 minutes later, boom, gone, engine done. And we're just a glider. We both kind of, revert back to our training, and we were talking to each other. We're trying to restart it, trying to do everything. Can't restart it. Talking to guard, we are, popping the doors open, doing everything you're supposed to do. And then he actually saw the field, found the field, and then we positioned ourselves to actually land and glided perfectly there. We landed uphill, and it used to be a retention pond. They just filled it in with sod and with grass probably like 2 months before that.
Soft.
It's owned by the oil companies, so it was very soft. We stopped pretty quickly. And we kind of went off in a ditch to the right. The only reason why there was any damage to the airplane, it was minimal damage. We went off to the right a little bit. And if we didn't do that, there was, I think it was 3 or 4 pressurized oil tanks that we would have just gone straight into. So get out.
Light a cigarette.
Call my wife.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, light anything. Yeah, no. Drink some, no, nothing. Get out, call my wife. Well, actually, I should backtrack a little bit. There's this like I call him a mountain man because like I don't know any other way to explain it. But he was driving I think it was an Oldsmobile Bravada. I don't know why I kind of remember exactly what the car is.
Because you have PTSD.
Right? Yeah, I'm like shaking right now. No. He drives, he sees like, man, I thought there was gonna be a big fireball. It's like, I can't believe you all are alive. What the heck? And he's like, come with me. And we're both like, we're good. But I mean, it was cold, it was middle of February, so and we're in West Virginia in the mountains. We're like, all right, we'll come with you. And he takes us to his house. There's probably like 15 people living there. They're cutting up a deer on the kitchen table. He was like, all right, well, come on in,
These
boys.
Are my
and we're
people,
like,
buddy.
Yeah, right. He's like, come on in. I was like, I literally had the thought. I was like, if I go in that house, I think I might die. It's like, I'm not.
You're going to go to
in,
Thanksgiving there the rest of your life is what's going to happen. That's amazing.
I know, right? Yeah. And then they were nice people, awesome people. They talked to us. I think it took like 6 or 7 hours for EMS, for the cops to even find us, to get to us. So, I mean, glad we did because it was cold. We've been sitting on that little small mountain for a while. Yeah. But yeah, the FAA came out. They said, this will not be an investigation. This will not be an accident. You guys truly did. Like, this will just be a great story for your interviews. You had no other options, and you had oil, you had fuel. Like, you did nothing wrong. So they were like, good job. And I was like, wow, thank you.
I want to put a pin in that for later. That's very interesting.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cool. All right. So you got back to work the next day, and they just like throw you in another plane, or were you frustrated at them?
3 or 4 days off.
Yeah.
I was so new. Like, I mean, this happened in like 300, 400 hours. So like, I didn't really like, I mean, you always hear about, I remember when I was younger, I was always like, Dad, like, aren't you afraid something's going to happen? Like, are you afraid the plane's going to do something? He's like, I've been flying for so long. I've never had an emergency. And I was like, well, not an emergency, but never had an engine fail or, like a forced landing off airport. And I was like, oh, I'm 370 hours in. I already got one. Check that box.
That's like,
But,
I can't believe this.
Yeah, no, I think I was just kind of like in shock, honestly. Like I knew the longer it took me to get back in the airplane, the less likely I was ever going to do it again. So I took a couple of days off and I was like, I have to go fly, and went up. And obviously I had some hesitancy. Like I went up with a flight instructor, I think. And I went up with someone I knew in the company, and they kind of like eased me back in a little bit. And then from then and there, just went back at it.
I have flown with, in my military career, I have been in squadrons that have had multiple mishaps and way too many people get killed. But I have flown with people after a mishap that have like their first few flights. And some, depending on what happened, like there are some really like, there's a big hill to climb to get back to the confidence level that you previously had. Did you face that at all?
Not really. It wasn't. It was just kind of like the anxiety of the unknown, like just waiting for something to happen. It was more of like, all right, like I still felt confident in my skills. Like I still felt confident in flying. If something was going to go wrong, I still felt confident. I knew I could land. Like I still felt confident. It was just the anxiety of like waiting for something to happen. Just like looking at the engine and being like, I don't trust it. Like something's going to.
Did that oil gauge
like,
just move?
Yeah. This is just like constantly overthinking. I'm sure the maintenance and the chief pilot probably didn't like that. I was always like, well, hey, this is a little high. We should look at this. We should write this up. We should look at it's like this isn't right.
That's what you get, bud.
So I think I just had a little bit of, I'd say, I don't even think anxiety is the right word, but it's just kind of waiting for something to happen. But eventually that went away.
And so how long did you end up spending at the aerial survey place?
Less than a full year, probably 9 months.
Wow. And did you just jump straight to NetJets from there?
No, I flew a single pilot freight. So I left the air survey place with about 1,000 hours. And then I needed to they had an SIC program at the freight place I went to, which flew Caravans and PC-12s. So they had an approved FAA SIC program. I can't remember exactly how long I needed to do that for, but I stayed there until I got my legal minimums so I could be the PIC for the Caravan. And then I could have left there after 1 year to go to the regionals, but I knew NetJets still was my goal. So I stayed there, signed on for another year for a contract to fly the PC-12. And then I did that until I think I left there at like 3,000 hours, 3,000 hours, like 650 hours multi, and who knows how much IFR time. But I had enough to get the NetJets.
Yeah. And were you working in the Midwest? Were you working back in the Carolinas? Where was that?
No, middle of nowhere, Ohio. The biggest city was called Worcester. But they were based out of Kidron, Ohio. It's a really small airport. It's probably like 3,300 feet with a massive displaced threshold if you're landing to the north with a really big tree. And then the other side had power lines.
Oh, good.
So
good.
Yeah, and the owner's houses lined the runway, so they could always see what you're doing, if you had a bad landing, a good landing. And yeah, we're coming in after like a 14-hour duty day, flew deep into Mexico in the PC-12, you stop in Laredo, you fly back, and then you're landing north with a crosswind at 3:00 in the morning. And you're just like, oh my gosh, the worst airport.
Yeah, that sounds awful. But also,
it was all right. They took really good care of their airplanes. So that was big for me. Like maintenance is great. They always cleaned them. Everything was clean. So you knew if something was wrong. But the PC-12 was so much fun to fly. The Caravan was a blast. I love flying that. Loading the planes was not my favorite thing in the world. Just you had like a 1,500 pound skid and you had to kind of ratchet it to get it up in place. Really got comfortable with weight and balance. Trying to figure out how I don't kill myself doing that. But I learned a lot. I think the best pilot ever was kind of the next like 3 months after that, just because you're all by yourself, you're figuring everything out on your own. Weather, I really learned how to respect weather and what I really felt comfortable with.
Last year you had a conversation with somebody. I think you went flying in Texas and got a tight spot with weather too, right?
Yeah. Josh from Aviation 101.
Yeah. Yep. Getting in a tight spot with weather in a small aircraft is a scary, like getting in bad weather, like getting in bad weather in a 757 is like unnerving enough, but like I have had a couple like, well, I just go check this sucker hole out. But, and did you guys have weather radar on the Caravan?
We had a Garmin 430, a Garmin 530, and we had Sirius XM.
Oh,
that's all we had.
Well, at least you had Sirius
but
XM.
everyone says like, don't use SiriusXM, don't rely on it. If you can kind of understand, obviously an onboard radar is amazing. It's probably much better to have and rely on, or to use as a tool. I don't want to say rely on, but SiriusXM can help you in those situations, and you can see trends, you can see what's going on, and you can make the decision like, all right, this is moving west to east at this speed. Let's just go around it. You know, you're not going to go picking through the cells with SiriusXM, but you're going to be choosing to go around, choosing to deviate around the weather or that kind of stuff. So it did the job. Now that when I went to NetJets, I had the Garmin 5000. I was like, how'd I ever fly with a 430? Like a 430 is a screen like this big, and then a 5000, you know, it's like the size of the magazine behind my head. And it's just like, this is amazing.
Yeah, it's like you were on the Oregon Trail and now you're on the Autobahn, you know?
Right.
But I do think that's a really important point to drive home to the pilot listening is that your ability to make a clear decision, because you can go turn right and get gas somewhere else. And even if you didn't want to, it's way easier to worry about the credit card bill than it is to worry about whether or not you're going to make it through this cell. Weather flying is, to me, is such a huge threat. And it, like, especially single pilot, and you're like negotiating with yourself, like, well, maybe I should, maybe I shouldn't, I don't know. Yeah, you are becoming like the sharpest pilot, the sharpest of your skills you're ever going to be probably in your whole life.
Oh, 100%. I mean, it's not to say you still don't have the skills to do that, but you're definitely aware of everything, and like your brain just constantly thinking, because you're trying to obviously get the freight there on time, because if you don't, then you got to fly to a different airport, which is probably flying through that same weather again. Because a lot of times, if I did one UPS runs a couple of times, and if you couldn't get to Raleigh at this time, then you had to fly to Louisville so it could get on the main flight out of Louisville to go somewhere else. So it's like, all right, well, I need to get to Raleigh. There's a lot of like get there-itis. There's a lot of the decision making and a lot of kind of the machoism. Like those really do come into effect when you're flying freight. And sometimes you just I think I said no. I mean, I probably should have said no once or twice more, but nothing was too dangerous. But I think I said no one time when I was flying there. And we're doing Nebraska freight and just this massive line of weather. I was one of the only ones to make it in the night before. I beat a big storm in. I was like, you know what? I pressed my luck. No one else is here. I'm not flying in that. And they're like, all right, cool. We'll just drive it. I was like, really? That's it? No questions asked? I was like, what? That was an option the whole time?
Why didn't anybody tell me this?
Yeah, I know. Yeah, but yeah.
Yeah. That's just it. You make your decision. Somebody else will figure out what they're going to do with the stuff. Don't worry about it. Like, just go.
Yep.
And so how long did you do that before you ended up at NetJets?
Probably like 2.5 years.
Okay, so quite a while.
2, maybe closer to 3. Yeah.
And so were you still talking to your mentor there and just...
Yeah, every 6 months. And then eventually, because it was close enough to NetJets or to Columbus where I live, that I could just drive down and go see him. And eventually he knew he was getting ready to leave. So he then introduced me who was going to take over his spot. So then Alan Bobo, who I became really close with as well. He's high up in NetJets now. He might have the same role, like president or CEO. I can't remember what his actual role is now, but he kind of took me under his wing, and he's like, Justin, you just got to reach these mins, and then you apply, and then just like, let me know. So whenever you get the min, just let me know. Like we just kept talking, and he was just always talking. Like, I think they just got the Latitude, and our last meeting together was like on the Latitude. And he's like, this could be the plane you fly. I'm like, this is awesome. So I was all in. I was like, NetJets for life. This is what I'm gonna do for the rest of my life. This is gonna be amazing.
Yeah. What was the process like to get hired back then?
Let's see. So
did they just like welcome you aboard because you knew everybody?
No, it was very much you had to earn it. Like, I mean, obviously I had an in, and I had someone high up that had to recommend me, but they're not. NetJets is really big on protecting their brand. They will not hire a single person if they don't think it fits the brand. So you have to be very good with customer service. You have to understand that this is more than just flying. And there's a whole process to this. And they're really big, like I said, on protecting their brand and making sure when things go bad, you don't spiral out of control, which is obviously a good trait in a pilot in general. But there's no door that keeps you from the people in the back. So as things go bad, like people have a front row seat to seeing red lights. Seeing red lights, hearing noises, hearing bells, hearing something, or like, hey, like the weather's low. They can see it because they can look out your window. They can tell where you're going. And, you go around, you got whoever on the back, and they're like, why are we going around? You're like in the middle of the go around. You're like, hang on, let me finish the go. Yeah, I got to do this. But like, you have to really take care of kind of the people as well in those moments. So they want to make sure that they can trust their brand, that airplane, and kind of you with everything that they have. So The interview was a whole day. I went down to Columbus. It was great. Like their facilities are top notch. I think they just replaced some. They renovated. I think they're doing something to make it even nicer. But when I was hired in 2018, everything was great. Loved it. NetJets is owned by Berkshire Hathaway, which owns flight safety. So they have a massive flight safety right across the street where you do all your training. We didn't have to do simulator flying for it. It was just kind of like a customer service. We can train any pilot to fly our airplane if we like you and think you could fit in this role.
That's pretty good. Did you find out right away that you were hired? Did you have to wait like a week?
I only had 2 people. It was me and one other person.
And what year was
interview.
this?
So
16?
2018.
18. Oh, man.
18. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So 2 people. And then we were done with the interview. We were at like the front desk area in the main lobby. They're like, oh, by the way, you guys got the job. We're like, what? Thank you. Sick. Heck yeah.
Man, that's a lot of stress just with 2 people. I mean, getting in there, I think that these days as people get hired into the 91K world, there's a simulator, there's a day of meeting everybody and then answering questions. There's team building. There's all these different aspects of it. And and there's like 30 people there. I mean, just to be 2, golly.
I think I was kind of the guinea pig for NetJets. They're like, all right, we're going to hire this one 28-year-old. We don't hire 28-year-olds, and we're going to see how he does. There might have been a couple other people, but we're going to see if they can take the training, if they can take the job. Because historically, a lot of times they either hire people that have been in 121 training. They've been to the airlines, they got furloughed, then they find NetJets. But we're kind of getting to the age where they needed to hire outside of that just because the furloughees were getting called back. They needed to find other pilots. So I think they're kind of like, all right, well, let's try someone that maybe doesn't have as much experience, but we like them as a person. We think that they can really grow, and they're going to count on me being a good pilot. And they wanted to see how I could do, or how there's one other person. I would have retired number 2 there. There's one other person that was more senior than me and was younger than me. So we're the 2 people that are kind of like the guinea pigs for what they're going to do.
Hey, pilot. Did you just get a new conditional job offer? Are you getting out of the military and you're going to move your family across the country? Did you decide to finally stop commuting and move in base? Or maybe you decided it's just time to look for a second home? Well, before you do, listen to this. Trident Home Loans is an organization that's run by pilots. They understand pilot pay, they understand union contracts, they understand the military, and they have the best VA loan rates in the nation. Marty and his team have been doing mortgages for years. Heck, they've been doing my mortgages for years. I trust him and his team more than any other organization, and I challenge you to get a better deal anywhere else. Go ahead, get a mortgage quote anywhere. Then reach out to Marty and his team. They'll walk you through the process and show you how competitive their rates really are. So go right now to TridentHomeLoans.com and check them out. Tell them Nick sent you. You spent a huge amount of, you were committed. You were like, this is it. Mm-hmm. This is what I'm going to, you talk about that for years on your show. Had you already started your show before when you started there?
Yeah, I was doing it. When I was flying freight. I started the show. So it was back in Northeast Ohio, flying the PC-12 probably, I think it was. So I did it 2017. So a year before I left, I did it. Because I remember I was doing UPS runs when I was recording like episodes like 2 through 10. So you had like 12 hours off in the hotel, and I was just turning off the air conditioning in Omaha, Nebraska, recording podcast, and then going to fly my route. So yeah,
I make it a big point not to try to record on the road because it's difficult to have consistent sound. It's difficult to have consistent Wi-Fi. Here I have like a fiber optic, like hard line into the computer so I can make it consistent. I've got the lighting, I've got this and that. It's tricky to do. So when you started the show, what did you want it to be? Like, what was your intention? Like, I'm just going to talk to some pilots?
My intention was to do this for 6 months and then play video games again. Never thought anyone was ever going to listen to it.
Your wife's like
honestly,
nagging you and you're like, Call of Duty, baby. Like, I got to go.
I know. I was like, Battlefield. That was the game that we played. That was the game our group played. Call of Duty was also awesome. But I still joke. I'm like, babe, I think I had the personality to like be a Twitch streamer. Like, I think I'm funny enough. Like, I think I probably could have made more money doing Twitch streaming. Like, well, you really ruined my calling. And she's like, shut up. But yeah, so...
No, but I guess the question was like, what did you want to accomplish with the show?
Early on, just to try it, just to be like, all right, I did it. I tried it. Move on with the world. Like, I'm not going to be an influencer. That was kind of the big time of like YouTube was really coming up. Like daily vlogging was starting to be a thing. So like I was like dabbling into like, do I want to be a vlogger? Do I like want, it was like, I mean, I wasn't like massive fans, but I loved Casey Neistat. Casey Neistat's like early vlogs, like daily vlogs really got me inspired to want to do something. And I chose podcasting over vlogging just because my life didn't seem like my life was that interesting at the time, but I really just wanted to try it, see if it worked. I didn't necessarily want it to work. Like I said, like I wanted, like I fully thought this was just going to be like a 6-month thing, never do it again. But people just kept listening. And I think it was people commenting on posts. It was people sending me messages, and I just kept rolling with it, just kept going. And once I kind of I remember exactly when it started taking off. Do you know have you heard Pilot Maria? She's
Sure.
She flies Ryanair. She used to live in Sweden. I don't know where she's still based somewhere over there. But I was actually in China visiting my sister, and I think I had like 2,000 followers, and Wi-Fi in China doesn't work very well if you can find it. But sparingly, I had Wi-Fi, and I woke up and I had like 400 more followers, 500 more followers. Like, all right, what the heck? This is crazy. And then I saw that she shouted me out, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is awesome. But I couldn't do anything with it. I couldn't capitalize on that moment because I was in China for like 2 weeks. I was like, dang it, like this is great. But it's like radio silence for me right now. But shout out to Maria. She's been awesome. We met up with her later on a different trip to London and got to hang out with her. But yeah, she kind of helped me kind of get the word out because I was putting in the work, but sometimes it's hard to grow. Sometimes you can get kind of just like stuck. And
Yep.
We'll probably ask me later, but I think the biggest thing for creating, for doing content, for anything is just doing it. There's two things: doing it for the right reasons. Don't do it to make money. It took me 5 years to make $1 off this podcast. So it's 5 years of just grinding, doing it for nothing, essentially, just doing it for the love of it. And then also just be consistent. Don't stop. Because you never know. It's like that meme, where like the guy has a pickaxe and he's looking for gold, and he's just like hitting it, and he walks away and he's like one hit away from the gold. It's like you never know when Pilot Maria is going to give you a shout out. You never know when whoever is going to give you a shout. You never know when you get featured in a magazine. You never know what's going to happen. And that could be for creating, it could be for flying, it could be for anything. So just don't give up and be consistent.
Yeah, my Instagram game is not awesome. I have a long way to go. My LinkedIn game's pretty good, but nobody cares about that. But I was at a college function. It was a ton of collegiate pilots, and we're talking about the show and this and that. And then somebody's like, "You on Instagram?" I was like, "Yeah." And he opens it up. He's like, "Oh shit, Bananas follows you." I'm like, he was a guy I had on the show who's got a cajillion followers. I'm like, that's great. Like, I had no idea, but that one person can like leverage you a lot. It's so funny.
Yeah, it gives you like street cred.
Yeah, street cred. It's so good.
Yeah, Bananas with 9 S's follows you.
Yeah,
I like you now.
9 S's. That's right. I'm too old to let that be the defining moment. I think it's I love this. I love this for the opportunity to chat and the opportunity to be to help. Like right now, all this Velo stuff's going on. My phone's been exploding with trying to, hey, what do we do? How do I do it? What would you think? I've got these options. Should we do this? Should we not? And also like the care and feeding of it. But I love how consistent that you've been for a decade now, and that it seems to be, you've done a lot of cool stuff. You did coffee, you're doing the magazine, and I don't want to get into it just yet, but I do want to say, like, with all that, like, there's so many other paths you can take in the podcast sphere, and it's super fun. And now this YouTube stuff's growing big, and we'll never be 20 million followers on YouTube for pilot stuff, but
never.
Maybe 20 followers. That'd be pretty good.
Yeah, 25. Yeah, ooh. Shoot for the moon.
Yeah. So you spent time when you were at Netflix, not Netflix.
Yeah. Oddly enough, Netflix does have a flying department. So
I was at a cigar shop, and I was sitting across from this guy. He was the CEO of Netflix, and
there you go,
in Tampa on an overnight. And
you never know who you meet, man.
He's like, we're looking for pilots. I'm like, I'm not going to fly for y'all, but they do. They have a cool flight department. One of the interesting things about the 91K world is the fact that the owners, the people who are your customers, you know, they purchase shares of to participate and to be able to fly. And some of them are just super wealthy people. Some of them are like famous names and faces and stuff like that. I'm not going to ask you who you flew. I don't really care. But did you find that customer expects a lot? And so did you find was that difficult?
Every person's different. I think that to be a successful 91K, 91, you know, like fractional world, you have to know how to read people. Like you could fly the same person 100 times and 100 flights would be different. You don't know if they just lost out on a $10 million business deal. You don't know if they just signed the greatest deal of their life. We've flown people to funerals. We've flown people to business meetings. We've flown people to weekends in Aspen. Like you really do not, and they really try to give you a heads up like, hey, this is what you're walking into. Like this, something happened. This is not going to be a great, like they're not going to be they're going to be in a somber mood. So don't like show up like, hey, what's up, Net? We're the best, blah, 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 blah. You know, like you had to meet them. You had to understand what they wanted and you had to make that decision like very fast. Like it was really the handshake. And if they made eye contact, if they said hi, like you could really kind of tell and set the tone for the flight from then on out. You really just have to be a chameleon. It's like when you're an FO, you know, you fly with 100 different captains. You have to read the captain. You have to understand how to make this trip as enjoyable as possible. But you have to do that for the captain. And you also have to do it for people in the back. We flew some celebrities. I personally didn't fly anyone like crazy big. Flew some golfers, flew some actors, flew a model. But like a lot of them are great. Like I don't have too many negative experiences. Like, I mean, there are obviously some, but everyone was professional. Everyone was nice, but you have to understand that you're there for a service, right? Like you're not there to be their best friend. You're not there to get their autograph. You're there to fly them from point A to point B, make sure they get there safely and they enjoy the product.
I want to know how to get into that $10 million business deal that they just messed up. Like that's right. Where I'm like, well, how do I participate in this?
Wait. Can I get that? Yeah. Well, we were flying into Beverly, Massachusetts one time and flying a husband, a wife, and his like 3 kids. And he goes, kids, look out your window. And you can hear him up front. The latitude is very quiet. He's like, that's where I made my first $100 million. And then that's where I made my second $100 million. And the guy and I were flying with just like, like, all right, I'm gonna go eat my crew meal in my hotel on my bed. The microwave doesn't work.
Yeah.
Hopefully I don't get food poisoning.
Oh, good. I got bed bugs in my suitcase.
But it was awesome. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Obviously there's other reasons why I'm not there anymore, but it's not because of it's not necessarily because of them though. It's because of what I needed out of my job and having a kid and family wants changed. And it just didn't seem like the best place for me anymore. So I still recommend if you want to spend a career there, you can have a great career. You can love it. You can love it. It's possible. But you will work a little bit harder. That's all I'm going to say. You will work a little bit harder. But if you're okay with that, which I was for 7 years, then that's going to be a great career.
I do want to point people on December 15th, 2025, your episode was a conversation about your experiences at the fractional versus your experiences at the major. And I thought it was a really, you could tell that you were just kind of talking from the top of your head about the things that mattered, the things that were important for you and your family and how that decision making went. And everybody should give that a listen because it is good. Like there is, like you said, there's opportunity to spend a whole career there. And then it just depends what you're after. It depends. It depends what you like. And so you got to find that sweet spot. If you're a happy clam right there, then that's your place. And that's a great thing. If I could just fly a little more, 3 days on, 4 days off kind of thing, like great opportunity. Go check it out. It can be, everybody's got their story and their path that they're going to go down.
Yeah.
Figuring that out is hard. Do you feel like after your little buddy was born, I mean, it was probably 8 months before you moved or more. If my timing off just listening to your shows work,
like move jobs.
Yeah.
Oh,
it wasn't right away.
No, it was probably 2
Was
years,
it?
I think. Yeah.
And,
Yep. It would have been about a year and a half or 2 years.
and how'd that
That
conversation go with your wife did she lead you down that road? Like, hey, listen, this 7-on-7 is
no.
tough.
Well, we knew it was getting tough. Like, I mean, okay, so there's two parts of it. Like, it works out perfectly because you can plan your whole year. So 7-on-7 off, I knew for a whole year in advance. All right, I'm gonna go fly. My parents are gonna come help out with the kid these weeks. I'll be home. Then her parents, like we kind of had it set up like that. So we knew everyone was taken care of. We knew daycare. We knew kid care. Everything was gonna work out. So that was one of the big unknowns. Is like, all right, now you're going to go to an airline and you're going to be bidding every single month. The short call reserve. It's like, what's that look like? All right, how long are you going to be gone for? Long call, all this kind of unknown.
And you were not living in a base.
Not living in a base, which where I live is impossible. I would say there was an option, a velo, but that is no longer an option. And I laugh just because, not like laughing at them, just like how things change so fast in aviation. And what it's like, you take a chance because you have to be based in Raleigh. You go to a velo and they're like, hey, JK, Charlotte now. It's like, dang it.
Yeah, 100%.
But yeah, so it was about 2 years. I think I was more on board with it than my wife was for most of the part for leaving. I want to say it took convincing. I think what it took was me being like, hey, my friends have been hired they've been hired at Delta. They are year 3. They are captains. They are making 300 and what's the year 3 rate? $340 an hour, maybe 335. So they're making, we'll just say we'll say even less. They're making $300,000 and they're
making $450.
I know, yeah, but like I was like thinking like, all right, so let's say 300 an hour. Let's just say they're flying less. Yeah. I was bringing it down because I knew that people oversay what they make. They always say how good it is. Like, all right, well, let's just take like another like 20% down and see what it is. It's like, all right, well, that's still more than I'm making as a year 7 captain. They work less than me, and I mean, for 7 years, I had my airline friends. They were trying so hard, and I joke with them now. I was like, dude, why didn't you tell me it was so much better? Like, Justin, I told you every single day. And I was like, you didn't try hard enough, all right? But yeah, so I just kept telling her, it's like, they're sending me their schedules. One, I had no idea what I was looking at. They'd always send me their schedules. I'm like, this is gibberish. Like, what's the blue? What's this? What's that? Like, I don't know what this means. I know. And it's like, geez, make this make sense so I can talk to my wife about it. And eventually we're like, all right, this is what it looks like. This is what it can be. But I still think we underestimated how much it could suck. I still think we underestimated like how long short call reserve, how long of an unexpected hiring freeze that you weren't really accounting for could affect your quality of life.
It can, and that is part of the risk. I think that the regional guys are facing that right now that are getting hired, and then they're going to the junior base and they're on reserve and they're not flying. I know what that's like. I feel like I've been speaking about it nonstop recently. But that is the fact of the matter is that is part of the deal that you're going to have to try to work out. And that is like, so we're on the other side of the coin. Like, we moved from the West Coast to the East Coast just so we could live in base at the least likely base I thought would close. Right. That's the other part is
if your base closes, then there's some big issues going on.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. But I tell you, in Fort Worth, at DFW, there are a ton of commuters that fly for Delta Airlines. Why? Because it used to be a base. In Pittsburgh, there are a ton of senior American airline pilots. Why? Because US Air used to have a base in Pittsburgh, and now that airport's like a ghost town. And look at Cincinnati. Look at like all these towns had a great central hub for some airline. And things change. And so if you're an American and you're at whatever base or you're at Southwest and you're Phoenix and it's great, well, maybe it's not. Maybe that's going to shut down. And then what? Like, you always have to have your and then what? Because I don't have an and then what living in like the headquarters base. So my and then what is to really cash in on Twitch. And learn how to play.
Hey guys, games. Like and subscribe. Yeah,
that's right. I always forget to say that too. People are like, "Oh, you got to say that." So anyway, it's tricky, right? And were you on the fence? Did you hem and haw about it for a long time, or like were you just like,
Oh yeah, like so there was a major contract negotiation going on when I was there. So I like I said earlier, I think I said this. I would have retired number 2 if I would have stayed there. Seniority doesn't mean as much there as it does the airlines. It's still important, but it really just it doesn't hold the same weight as it does at an airline. But you still want to obviously be number 2 when you retire. So I realized I put 7 years in. I was like, I should have left 2 years earlier. Now knowing that I did leave, but I thought it was worth the risk of losing 2 years of seniority for the hope that I could get the contract I thought they deserved or we deserved. The contract they got was a great contract. Compensation is there. You still have to work a lot to get what airline pilots get, but there's really no quality of life introduced at all. And for me, I was like, I can make less if I work less, but I don't want to make less and work more. So that's kind of what hit me. And then even, I mean, I hit submit on my applications. I only applied to 2 places. I hit submit, still not expecting to go. I got a call, was still not expecting to go.
You probably got a call less than a week later.
It was like 6 days. Yeah, it was like 4 days later. I was like, it went. I didn't know who it was. It was just like I didn't recognize the phone number, so I let it go to voicemail. I think I forgot I applied, and left the voicemail. And I was like, "Holy smokes! Like, wow, that happened way." Because I asked my friends, I was like, "Realistically, what's the timeline? I apply, get hired." And they're like, "I don't know, like 6 months."
No
like, cool,
way,
okay.
dude! Not with that kind of hours.
And then it happened like this,
Yeah.
and I was like, I was just shocked, and I'm kind of glad I let it go to voicemail because I think that my mind wasn't letting me get excited about it. I was more nervous and I was more like, is this what I want to do? So I was able to like frame my thoughts. It was already post kind of work hours. So I called the next morning and was excited, obviously. But I still went to the interview 50-50. Like, all right, if I get the CJO, like, do I go? I didn't know. I was like, I was kind of, I mean, you say like you should interview them too, which I mean, yeah, you do that, but like anyone is going to take any job that they get, especially at a major, right? So I mean, but I was like, I'm going to see if this is what I want, and went to the interview process, and I really enjoyed it. It was great.
Were you talking to your dad at all about it?
So it's funny, when I got hired in NetJets, I mean, my dad was excited for me, but the very first thing he said was, "All right, now you need to apply to the airlines." And I was like, "Just let me be excited, man." But like,
your dad's all business. I love this.
Yeah, he was always in the back. He was always kind of like, all right, airlines. I was like, Dad, I got it. I know what I'm doing. I got this figured out. NetJets for life. And I think he eventually thought that this is what I actually wanted to do for my life until I was like, hey, Dad, I'm actually applying to the airlines.
Can I get a letter of rec?
Yeah. Well, he retired a year before that. And the chief pilot was like, hey, like, he contacted his old chief in Charlotte, and they were like, hey, like, we don't really rank retired pilots as high as line pilots. So like, yeah, you can send one in, but like, it's not, I mean, it could move them, but it's not going to do as much as it would if you would apply a year ago. Yeah. So I was kind of like on my own with that, but he was excited. I think he was probably a little disappointed that I was like, Justin, why don't you just do this a year ago? We could have flown together, my retirement flight, all that kind of stuff. So it would have been fun to do all that. But yeah, I mean, he was always there for me to call if I needed to call him.
Yeah, man. It's so funny because you and I, like, even though we're only a couple hours apart, like two different worlds, because never once in my whole life did I think about being an airline pilot, and like seeing it from as a child. Like my kids see it with me like you saw it with your dad. And it's so cool. Did they ask you, did they know you were on the show when you interviewed?
No.
Do you ever?
At the end of the interview, I was like, they made one comment, not about the show, but they're like, they said this to me. They're like, you were the most relaxed person we have ever interviewed before. And I was like, well, I mean, like, I was just kind of talking to him. I was like, well, I do a podcast, and I'm like, I'm used to sitting and talking to people for a while. And they're like, you do a podcast? I was like, oh, you don't have like my resume? Like, we don't get your resume on file. I was like, okay. I was like, well, I do a podcast.
Oh, you did? Did you have pilot to pilot on your resume?
Yes, I did, because I used it as the counseling side. I was like, I help pilots, I give back to community. It wasn't like I have a podcast, I am the best. It was more like, do the podcast, I talk to people, I mentor them, I help them get to where they want to go.
Yeah, that's good. I like that. What's it like when you run into another pilot that recognizes you?
I remember when I was at NetJets, it would happen every once in a while, and I would get like like, shh, be quiet. Don't say anything.
Oh, in front of the owners?
Well, in front of the captains, because you know how older pilots are with social media. I was just like, hey, like, we can talk. Just like, give me a second. Let me get away. But a lot of times they were just like, oh, dude, it's just, I've been waiting for you to come, man. Like, and the captain's like, what's going on? And I mean, at the end of the day, they're like, oh, dude, that's really cool that you do that, all that kind of stuff. But I think I mentioned this when I interviewed on my podcast, but I am such an introvert. I do not like talking about myself. Like and people have asked me to do an interview about myself. You're probably the first person that's ever done like a real interview about myself in a very long time, because I hate talking about myself. I get uncomfortable. I don't like doing it. So like when I'm flying, I never bring up I play football at Ohio State. I never bring up that I have a podcast unless like
you don't wear your national championship ring when you're flying.
Oh, yeah, can you imagine?
Can't even close your hand.
Yeah. Yeah, can you pour the coffee in my mouth, because I can't hold the cup with this big ring. But I just don't like talking about myself. So unless like I really know this person, I know where the conversation's going to go, or if they just like keep prodding enough and it's like it seems like I'm avoiding them, like, all right, cool, I'll talk a little bit about myself. But it's a me thing. I need to work on it and get better at it.
So I have a little bit of a benefit of being in the left seat. And so I don't have the 64-year-old guy who like shrugs at the guy who's the influencer. Like, I also don't consider myself an influencer. Like, I feel like the person going on the flight that's got the clip of them walking down the jet bridge, like that's the influencer. Like, I feel like I'm just like, I'm the old guy who can help you with a phone number. But yeah, when the FO knows me, it makes it pretty easy. But also if the FO I think I talked about this on your show, like if the FO doesn't know me, like I'm not bringing it up. Like it just
never. I prefer it where they don't know me. Like when I was a captain of NetJets, like I mean, most of them, I feel like a lot of the younger generation that I flew with that were FOs did know me. Not everyone would say anything. It was like if I ever got brought up, like, yeah, I follow your podcast. Like, oh, why didn't you say that to start out with? It's like now I felt weird, but
well, it's not a thing to bring up though. Like, it feels like you're patting yourself on your back too much.
Yeah, no, don't want to bring it up.
Yeah.
Not at all.
Yeah.
Do it. Maybe I'll give them a magazine now. Be like, hey, my friend does this. Here you go.
Look, and you just drop it in their lap by accident. Oh, I'm so sorry. Look at this magazine. Where'd that come from? Okay, let's talk about the magazine, dude. Like you have created a new FBO magazine, basically, like really fancy, super high quality, like big print, real tangible thing. Like, talk to me about how that came up.
I thought about it probably a year ago. I was like, what'd be cool is a magazine. Now things kind of take time to kind of go. I let the thought go and kind of did my own thing. And then eventually it was last year, I was looking for other sponsors, looking for other people to help out the podcast. And I can't remember who I was meeting with, but kind of got blown off a little bit. And I was like, all right, I'm just going to start my own thing. I'm going to do my own thing. So I can be petty sometimes. And I was like, let's do it. Started the magazine. It's sitting behind me right now. So I can point to it.
Very nice.
That one right there. Yeah. But yeah, the whole idea was, magazines played such an important role in aviation history, whether it's influencing, whether it's informing, whether it's just being a source of entertainment or something to read, something to hold, share. And I wanted to kind of put my hat in that ring, and I kind of wanted to see where I could grow with the podcast itself. I've always wanted to turn Pilot to Pilot into a media company, not necessarily just this podcast. Like I've always talked about adding podcasts to under the brand. I've always talked about doing this. And kind of right place, right time. I talked off air about this, how the editor, I was like, hey dude, do you know how to make magazines? He's like, actually, that's like what I do for my main job is I make magazines. And I was like, this is amazing. Thank the Lord. Like, let's do this. And he was on board. And luckily he was able to kind of agree to my crazy vision. And I honestly, like the magazine, I went to Barnes and Noble and I swear I picked up every single magazine. I was like, why did I want to pick this one up? I thought about like, what do I like in a magazine? And I like big pictures. I like things that feel really good in your hand. Like I hate the flimsy magazines. And then when I was growing up, I remember I used to always get Sports Illustrated for kids, and they used to have either cards in there or posters. So I was like, I have to do one of the two. And then the cards turned out to be way more of a headache. And I didn't want people to think I was like trying to copy Delta or United with their cards. So I was like, I'm going to do posters. So every single magazine has a poster in it as well. Now it got stupid. Like it is I do not recommend anyone start a magazine. It is so expensive. I don't know if I'm going to make my money back, but it is part of the process. It's part of kind of getting my brand out there. And I enjoy it. It was fun. And I really like the idea of, if you don't want to read, that's fine. You can look at pictures and you can listen to the podcast. So every single article has a podcast to it. They're slightly different. So we go a little bit deeper in the podcast than we do the article. And I think it's just kind of a fun way to read, to listen, to share, to do what you want to do. And it's been fun. And it looks great, as you can see. Like, I mean, I it would have been, so before I started selling it, I knew it was being printed. I never held it until I paid for the deposit for it to be printed. And my wife's like, what are you doing? I was like, I don't want to pay an extra. It was going to be like $1,500 for them to make one magazine for me to hold and approve. And I was like, I can't do that. So I just trusted that it was going to be good. I had a vision. We knew exactly what we wanted, and finally got it in. I think she has a video of me just it's so much better than I thought it was going to be.
Where you live, there's a lot of paper and stuff like that. Is it printed locally, or do you have it shipped in from some other place?
No, print, like that whole, I learned way too much about the world than I ever wanted to know. Printing is just, I mean, like, I can't even begin to explain to you how expensive printing is. Like, I've realized why people are doing digital magazines, and it is insanely expensive. There are a couple big companies that do it. The magazine that I eventually found that I wanted to kind of like use for inspiration, I first kind of reached out to them. I was like, hey, I would love to, like, I love this magazine. What you guys did was great. Can I work with you guys? And I got a quote, and their quote was insane. I was like, there's no way. It was for like 200 magazines. I think it was like $10,000. I was like, this is ridiculous. But I was still like, all right, this is what it takes. This is what I have to do. And I guess I have to do something to get this. Start an OnlyFans. Kidding, of course. And then my wife's like, well, don't just like go shop around. Like, are you an idiot? Like, you don't just go to the first person and say yes. I was like, yeah, you're right. So I started reaching out. I actually interviewed, it was in the magazine. It was the story of Lake Ridge Aero Park, which is an airport here. It's a grass runway. It used to be 2 grass runways, but it's a really cool place. And it was recently taken over by 2 young brothers. And I was in the process of interviewing them for the magazine. And they were like, what's this for? I was like, a magazine. They're like, no way. My dad is in the magazine business. Like, he was high up in New York, all this kind of stuff. He's like, blah, 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 blah. Like, we can get you in touch with him. We never really connected with his dad, but I did ask him, I was like, can you just tell me who he used for printing? Like, that's all I really need to know. And then I can try to figure it out. And he told me, and I reached out to them. Their prices were incredibly better. Like, I printed a lot more magazines for way less money than what the other company was going to do, and equally as good quality, if not better. So was very happy with that. And yeah, so that's kind of how that went.
Did you write all the articles yourself?
Some of them were written by other people. So like Jason McDowell wrote about the 170, my DP buddy, who I actually went to I went to college with. We never talked in college. We were in all the same classes. We knew of each other, but we never really talked to each other. I was talking with my buddy Jason McDowell, who's a pretty big writer. And I was like, hey, dude, like, I'm going to start a magazine. He was all for it. He's like, this is awesome. I was like, can you recommend some people? Because you're in the writing community. He's like, oh, well, what about your buddy John Ginley? And I was like, John? Like, I haven't talked to him, never talked to him, but I knew of him. And I called John, and he was like, dude, I'd love to do this. So I got him on board for the DP stuff. And then any article that is not written by someone else, like, you'll see it under there, it'll be like, by blah, blah, blah. It's usually a podcast first. So I'll, like, if you were to write an article, we would record a podcast, and then I would take that podcast and I would turn it into an article myself. So I would kind of like use your quotes and talk about that, and so I would kind of transcribe the podcast and make it into an article. And I would try to make sure I left more in the podcast than what came out in the article.
You want me to write an article about making bad decisions in the left seat of a 757?
I don't think your airline wants that one. I got to protect you there, man. I got to protect you. No, I'm kidding. Always.
Yeah. I'll write you an article, whatever you want. So these are coming out quarterly, right?
Yeah, that's the goal. So currently working, it's kind of funny, I was so excited to get everything done for the first volume, and then like the excitement wears off. You're like, well, now I have to start off for the second one. I was like, crap. Like it took so much work to do the first one. Now I got to do it again. It's like, maybe I should have just done one.
Yeah. Well, I think you've already got the template set up, so just wash, rinse, repeat. I think you need to have like some ridiculous like $100,000, $150,000 watch on like a full page ad if you're going to put it near any FBO, because I feel like every FBO magazine has either horses or expensive watches.
They do.
That's
So do I reach out to Rolex? Do they reach out to me? Like, how does this process?
Listen, Rolex is too low key. Like that's bottom basement, brother. Like
AP,
like whatever.
Right.
Philippe Patek.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Patek. Yeah.
Whatever that is.
Yeah, I got Philippe on my phone. I think I can call him.
Give him a shout.
Yeah, I call him Philip. Yeah.
Hey Phil.
AP money. What's up, dude?
It's true. I love the magazine. I love the idea. I think it's such a cool. It's weird that Women in Aviation International, they put out a magazine. My daughter is like in Girls in Aviation, and until you're 15, you can be in Girls in Aviation. They send you a magazine every couple months. They do all sorts of fun stuff, and my girls love that because airplanes, because of all the things. My sons, they love the Union magazine, and it's got airplanes, and it's got all the it's got pictures of guys uncomfortable in suits, and then but they love to kind of flip through it, and they ask questions. What is this? What is that? What is so? It's a great way to really start off a conversation too with your kiddos. Like they'll fight over who gets to look at the magazine first. So I think bully to you, brother. I think this is a super awesome idea.
Yeah. And I mean, I did a Y magazine, and one of my thoughts was like, no one reads magazines anymore, but I think that magazines will make a comeback. I don't think they're ever going to be to where they were before. Like obviously digital's here, iPhones are here, but I do think the physical books, I think physical magazines, I do think that they will make a comeback. How far that goes, I don't know. But I mean, I promise you, if you are kind of hesitant or skeptical, almost said spectacle, but skeptical, if you are skeptical, give it a try. Once you hold it, you're going to be like, wow, this is legit. And it's like, I promise you, you will not regret at least one copy of the magazine. It is awesome, and give it a shot.
I'm going to go pick up the magazine today. I'm going to go.
You should
get a subscription. It'll be super fun.
Should do it.
I will.
Could charge Spitfire.
Just tell Tron, hey buddy, guess what?
We need this. Yeah.
I need the company credit card. Like we don't have a company credit card. What are you talking about?
What do you mean we don't have a company credit card?
Oh my gosh. Yeah, dude. So what's next? Like what do you see? We just started this year. So what's on your plate?
Podcasts, magazines. I mean, my priorities in my life are wife and kid, pilot to pilot, and flying. And I try to be really good at making sure I hold to those priorities. So if I have to push a pilot to pilot episode because something in my life comes up, if my kid is just like, Dad, I don't want you to do a podcast today, I make it a priority and I make it happen. Does it hurt the overall with the company? Yes, but I'm a true believer that my kid wants to be my best friend for, if I'm lucky, 10 years. So I'm going to try to eat these 10 years up. I'm going to try to fly as little as possible. I'm going to try to maybe more than 10 years. You might have more experience in that, but I'm going to try to fly as little as possible. I'm going to try to work as little as possible. And I'm going to try to be present for my kid and my wife as much as I can.
If you can thread the needle with love from 15 and a half to 19, you're going to have like that best friend thing never ends. And that I think is like literally the most important thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then if you end up having a girl, you got to hold her tight and let her know that you're the first guy she ever loved. Right.
Yeah.
So that's so important. And I agree. Yesterday I was recording, and my youngest Titus, he's 3. He came in, he had just gotten home from school, and he wanted to tell me all about it. And so like, I'm in the middle of recording, and we talked, and he literally was here for 5 minutes because he wouldn't, like, that was it. He wanted to tell them, and I want to hear.
Yeah.
I want to know.
Yeah.
Like, all of this that we do to help other people is great, but we need to help ourselves first. And I think that priority is good, dude.
It's also really funny because I mean, you obviously too, but my 4-year-old is probably one of the only kids in the world that knows what like a podcast is. It's like he comes up, we never talked about what you say in a podcast, but I have a video of him like, Dad, I want to do a podcast. And he sits in my chair, he pulls the microphone up, he's like, record it. I was like, hey pilot, what are you doing, pilot? Why do you want to be a pilot? And I'm like, that's insane that you can put that together. Like he always talks about podcasts. He always I picked him up from school yesterday. I didn't do a podcast yesterday, but he knows I do podcasts. And he's like, Dad, how was your podcast today? I'm like, thanks, buddy. Like, appreciate it. Didn't do one. Good. And he's like, why'd you pick me up late if you didn't do it? And I was like, I was still working on stuff. I promise.
I was at Chick-fil-A.
Yeah. I actually did go to Chick-fil-A yesterday. Did not get the gold cup. Very sad.
What's a gold cup? I don't know about a gold cup.
So they're selling classic cups in a bag. And they have 3,000 of them are gold. If you open up a gold cup, you get Chick-fil-A for a year.
I live right around the corner from the Chick-fil-A headquarters.
Yep.
They
go knock on the door.
I go there I know some people there, so we'll go eat sometimes. They do free food all day, like free Chick-fil-A for everybody that works there. It's unbelievable.
That's awesome.
It's delicious.
Yep.
Well, we're certainly off track, aren't we? Dude, I'm thankful that you would come on to my show. I'm thankful you'd have me on your show. The Pilot to Pilot podcast is the OG, and it is really like, I look up to you a lot. Your voice was consistent when I was deployed, and I appreciate that. And I'm sure there's tens of thousands of other pilots that you don't even know about that also listen to you.
Yeah. I appreciate that. It's always great to hear that, right? Like, I mean, I love hearing that it has helped, because obviously that's why we do it, is to help the community and make sure that we can teach from our mistakes, teach from other people's mistakes, or just invest in your knowledge in what you can learn. So I appreciate you saying that, because there's been times where, like back in the day, I was like, I don't know, why am I doing this? When I wasn't making money, I was like, why am I spending so much time on something? Why am I doing this? I should quit. And of course my wife's like, don't quit. Why would you quit? What else are you gonna do? I was like, I can play video games. Let me play video.
If you keep buying equipment for your studio and you're not making any money, it's a great write-off.
Yeah, right. I need a lot more equipment.
Yeah, I know. I was like, well,
what can I put in here?
I need a green screen maybe. So,
yeah.
Dude, Justin, thank you for coming on the show. What are your socials? How do we point everybody to you?
Yeah, so if you want to buy a magazine or check us out on the internet, we have our website is pilottopilot.hq.com. Magazine, you just do pilottopilot.hq/mag, pilottopilot.hq.com/mag. And then Pilot to Pilot on Instagram. I'm not really big on any other socials. I've never been a TikTok guy. But so Instagram, and then if you want to listen to the podcast, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, it's just Pilot to Pilot. I think we have 348 episodes as of today, because we just released Nick's episode. So go listen to that. And yeah, that's it. Buy a magazine. They're sick. I promise you'll like it.
All right, pilots, that's a wrap on this episode. And I know what you're thinking. You need to make yourself a little bit better. So how do you make yourself a little bit better? You tighten up your resume. So here's what I want you to do. Go over to my website, spitfireelite.com/podcast, and you can download my free resume template. It is tight, organized, and it's the perfect pilot resume. It's just something I like to do for the pilot group, and it is free to you. So go over there, spitfireelite.com/podcast, and download your free resume template. While you're over there, look at all the services that we offer. Lots of great interview prep, lots of great application review. Everything you need to be a professional pilot is right there. spitfireelite.com/podcast. Thanks, and I'll see you on the next episode.
This podcast is for informational and entertainment purposes only. The views expressed are those of the hosts and guests and do not constitute professional advice. The producers and sponsors make no representations or warranties regarding the accuracy, completeness, or applicability of the content.